like to welcome you to the School of Graduate Studies Practitioners Forum 2023. The theme is dear to my heart, and I'm sure it is to the heart of the faculty, because standards are important. As a matter of fact, standards started in the Garden of Eden. An orange tree will continue to be yielding oranges. Every human being, depending on your gender, will have standard features as the other. And that's why we're able to tell who a male is and who a female is. But in the world we find ourselves today, we're in competition even for the air we're breathing now, even if we're not fighting for it. But standardization always creates the opportunity for differentiation. It also creates the opportunity for gaining a competitive edge in life and in business. And so it is very important that graduate students who are going to go out into the world to change it and impact the course of our destiny leave their education with an important understanding of the role of standards in everything we do. I'm Kweku Ishirado. I am the host of Asasi Breakfast Show. Today is not about me. So let me move on and ask, with a round of applause, let's welcome the Dean of the School of Graduate Studies, Professor Samuel Entry.
Good evening, all protocols observed, Vice Chancellor, our guest speaker, our directors, staff, students present this evening. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, and the School of Graduate Studies, it's a pleasure to welcome you to this year's Practitioners Forum. This event has become an important annual event for our final year students to interact with captains of industry. Particularly, the program aims to equip students with additional knowledge and assess the ability to apply knowledge gained through their course of study in industry situations. The School of Graduate Studies exists to facilitate research, scholarly activities, as well as coordinate teaching and learning for the building of a culture of excellence in scholarship and professionalism. We see this forum as an opportunity for our final year students to be exposed to practical knowledge to enable them function well and add value to their chosen fields of endeavor. It's our honest expectation that as our students interact with and learn from the best of industry, who will be speaking on relevant topics in their respective fields of expertise, as well as the demands of industry, our students will be inspired to make a difference in their chosen careers. In the future, we hope our students will become mentors for other students and be their inspiration while empowering them through capacity building. The theme for this year's forum is standards, the key to sustainable growth in a competitive business environment. It is my honest and sincere desire that students will take lifetime lessons and connections from the discussions and the experience interacting with our speakers. I would like to extend my thanks to all those who have contributed to support this year's forum, both in kind and in cash. Especially our headline partner, Asasi 99.5 FM, and other media partners, Graphic Communications Group, The Inquisitor, The New Crusading Guide, and Business and Financial Times. Many thanks also go to the Vice Chancellor and the management of the university, the SOGS management team, the Public Affairs Directorate, GRASAC UPSA, and the Event Organizing Committee. I hope that for graduate students, you will take this session serious and let's take some life lessons out of it. Go and make impact and come and bless your alma mater, UPSA. Thank you.
A mandate that sends you out there to touch the world and come back and bless your alma mater is one you should take seriously. And I think off the back of that, it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to now do the school anthem. Will we please be on our feet and do the school anthem? So I will hand you over to the crew up there. Yeah. Take your seats. Without further ado, I'd like to invite the Pro-Vice Chancellor. The Vice Chancellor is unable to be here with us. At the very last minute, he's had to attend to an urgent appointment. But we have the Pro-Vice Chancellor with us, Professor Kweku Mensah Mauto. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Good evening. Our distinguished students, our special guests, our directors, our deans. I can see the Director of Quality in our midst, Mr. Corte. HODs, invited guests, friends and families of our students, the dear ones of our students, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, let me welcome you to this special program, which you all know we normally organize for our students who are preparing for graduation. That is the Practitioners Forum 2023. I'm once again privileged to use this opportunity to welcome our special guest of honor in the person of Professor Dodoo, the CEO of Ghana Standards Authority, as well as the president of the African Organization for Standardization, ARSO. Professor Dodoo, we are grateful for accepting to talk to us students. Indeed, the Practitioners Forum is one of the mandatory courses every graduate student is supposed to take, even though non-examinable. And I'm very happy it is one of the programs that you can record 95 to 99% attendance. Sometimes better than the attendance we normally experience and witness in the classroom. But when we ask the question, why? Indeed, some are here this evening because they took this program for granted, even though non-examinable but mandatory. It's a must-pass program, and the university attach importance to this program. If you don't attend all the programs, you will not graduate. Some few weeks ago, I was in the shoes of your dean, and I would have presented that special speech he submitted some few minutes ago. And I can tell you that lives normally change after this program, because we don't just select the programs, we don't just select the speakers, we flip through experts to speak to us for the purpose of achieving the objectives for this program. Indeed, it is not a normal academic program, but it's a program that you have distinguished personalities, people who have excelled in their various disciplines, sharing with you. So you see, this time, it's not like examination, so you are always at ease to learn. They'll share with you how they achieved the various successes they chalked over the years. 2 years ago, we had a CEO of STC, the State Transport Company, which was virtually defunct. But a gentleman of this nation took up the mantle to restructure STC, reorganize it to a sound footing. And today, some of you rely so much on STC when it comes to intercity and interregional transportation, in the person of Honorable Akomia. After his speech, everybody gave him a standing ovation because they acknowledged the good work he's done for STC. I thought you would do same. God bless you. God bless you. This evening, I hope that after our professor has shared his experience with you, you will give him the standing ovation because you would have been impacted. In addition to this program, tomorrow, some of you will have to learn the professional etiquette of how to address your colleagues in special and professional gatherings. Indeed, my first experience when it comes to attending some programs is because of this program. It was this program that I got to realize that when you are invited for a special dinner, you've got to eat very well before you go. You are not supposed to go and eat in that special dinner. Because some of you capitalize on such programs to eat at the expense of networking. By the time you come to realization, You're already tired. And tomorrow's program will guide you, will teach you how to conduct yourself, even among your friends. Even though sometimes we want to be informal, but there are some places that it is mandatory that you must be formal. These programs are chosen to ensure that, if for nothing at all, you did not learn anything apart from the various disciplines you applied for. There will be some ethical values you benefit from when it comes to this program. On this note, let me encourage all students to pay special attention and take full advantage of this opportunity to participate in learning from our speaker and from each other. And once again, let me share with you that whilst you are learning, we are also conducting the peer review process to ensure that everybody who's not supposed to be here must be here. And if you are not here, you will not be captured. Because today, one of the major issues affecting our country is the questionable ethical values of people. So we are so much particular with our quest to ensure that you conduct yourself in a proper and a professional, ethical manner, such that you will not only learn, but you will practice what we are trying to imbibe in you. On this note, let me thank you all for your audience and wish you a very fruitful evening you've never experienced before. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Kweku Mauto. You know, we all take for granted some of the phrases we learn in our popular culture. Nikrakra Nise. Nikrakra Nise, 1% is all you need. Because if you score an A, one person will still get the prize. And the difference between everyone in that A class and the one who gets the prize is a small fraction of at least 1%. And so I'm excited. You are in for a treat because I've had the privilege of plundering Professor Alex Dodoo's brain on standardization and its application to so many different things. And I chose the word plunder because there's so much in there, and you're in for a treat. So remember, that's your 1% to stand out in the world. With that, I'd like to call on the Deputy Director of Public Affairs, Ms. Ivy Hayward-Mills, to give us the introduction of our keynote speaker, who incidentally is an Olympics supporter. Something I didn't see in the profile, but I thought I should put that out there. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Inshura. Ladies and gentlemen, I seldom do this, but tonight I'm going to be reading a profile from start to finish. Because the big English in there, you'll understand once I start. I'm honored to have been called upon to introduce to you tonight our special guest of honor, Professor Alexander Ni-Otu Dodoo, Director General of the Ghana Standards Authority and President of the African Organization for Standardization. He is an epitome of the bridge between industry and academia. As a professional, he's a pharmacist, a clinical pharmacologist, a patient, a consumer rights advocate, and a trade facilitator. As an academic, he's an associate professor at the Center for Tropical Clinical Pharmacology and Therapeutics at the University of Ghana School of Medicine and Dentistry. He lectures on the MSc program in vaccinology and pharmaceutical drug development at the University of Siena in Tuscany, Italy. And he's an external examiner for MSc and PhD students at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi. He has also examined PhD theses for the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa and several PhD and MSc students in Ghana. Alex, as he simply prefers to be called, has and continues to provide occasional lectures and professional presentations in Europe, across Africa, North America, Asia, and Latin America. He's passionate about skills development, technical and vocational education, and training, and acts as a professor in residence to the Design and Technology Institute, a private TVET institution in Ghana. Also, the Chief Scientific Director of the African Collaborating Center for Pharmacovigilance and Surveillance. He was President of the International Society of Pharmacovigilance from 2009 until 2012. President of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana from 2008 until 2012, and President of the Pharmacy Information Section of the International Pharmaceutical Federation from 2008 until 2012. He has served as a member of the Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety of the WHO, as well as the WHO's Advisory Committee on the Safety of Medicinal Products. He was the first chairman of the Global Vaccine Safety Initiative of the World Health Organization, and he continues to serve on various boards and committees at the local, continental, and international levels. Prof. Dodoo is the Ghana country representative to the International Organization of Standardization, ISO, which I'm sure you all know about, and he chairs the Council of the African Standards Organization. He's a product of St. John's Grammar School, Accra Academy, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, King's College London, and the University of London. He undertook a year's postgraduate work in neuropharmacology at the University of Alberta, Edmonton, Canada, and worked as a senior scientist at Roche Discovery, in the UK. He has authored and co-authored various manuscripts and full papers in peer-reviewed journals, and has one book published titled Healthy Secrets, A Layperson's Guide to Health Issues. In 2023, Prof. Dodoo intends to publish 2 new health books for lay people, and I hope that we're all going to be patronizing it. Prof. Dodoo is a husband and father of 3 solid young lawyers. Ladies and gentlemen, with rapturous applause, let us welcome Professor Alex Dodoo.
Thank you very much. You may sit. I think you were expecting to see a very old man. I'm quite old. I mean, I had my 59th birthday yesterday. And I'm coming from my son's graduation, or called to the bar as a lawyer. So I just rushed here wearing the 3-piece suit. I wanted to change and wear made in Ghana, but I was told I should come in the 3-piece. So I've come with a 3-piece. Before I say anything, I want to thank the School of Graduate Studies, not just for the invite, but for the color of the brochure. It's blue and white, and that is Accra Great Olympics. So I think the school is in the spirit. Now, we've all seen that the overhead projectors are not working, and I know a few people will be very upset, but I say, please do not be upset. As you realize, one of the things of any institution is to have risk management plans and risk mitigation strategies. For those doing the quality management system, the so-called ISO 31000 series. So business must continue, and every institution needs to have a business continuity plan, because problems come. If you do not have one, you need to have one. These days, if you are looking for grants and you don't have a risk management plan and a business continuity plan, we will not give you the money. And COVID taught us that the worst and the most unimaginable can happen. I often say that Accra is an earthquake zone. How many of you have any preparedness for earthquakes? Not just for your house. Usually when the earthquake happens, you'll be in another house, which I will not describe. It may not be your house. So your house can be fortified. That may happen in a friend's house or another friend's house or a friend of undescribed proportions house. And what would you do? So, I mean, you need to think through all these things because they may happen. But we pray that these things will not happen. I'm also very happy that the room is full because I can see that it's like our days in KNUST and taking African studies. It was non-scoring, but if you trail, you don't graduate. Everybody attended. So I'm glad you are here. I want to thank Prof. Mauto and as well as the VC, Ms. Ivy Ward-Mills, and the entire team. You've done great. I'm always in trouble, and Ishra knows that. So I have a disclaimer. Nothing I say is the view of the government of Ghana, the GSA, or any other group I'm associated with. It is my own problems, I beg you. So quote me, not GSA or anybody. I hope we are clear on that. And for all the graduate students, it's important. These days, when you give a public speech, two things are critical. Disclaimers as well as conflict of interest. Do you have a conflict of interest? Whether it's real, whether it's actual, whether it's potential, or whether it's perceived, it is still a conflict of interest. Because you must always remove yourself from positions whereby your views are perceived to be conflicted due to financial or other considerations. So with that we say praise the Lord. The only Christians in this house. True or false? Hey, I don't even know. Okay, praise the Lord. How do you say? I've forgotten the Islamic one, but I will say it. I think you've gotten the message. So let's start. Standards, the key to sustainable growth in the competitive environment. I'm going to have maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes chat with you. I speak very fast, but I'll go very slow for you. And if you don't understand, please stop me. I'm happy to be stopped. I will speak about the unemployment situation in Ghana. I will regale you with a few definitions on standards. I will talk about the African continental free trade area. And you notice the topic of my presentation, unleashing. Please note, the words were chosen deliberately. Unleashing. You can only unleash something, release something, free something which is there already. And I believe everyone here has it in them. You do have the potential to transform Ghana. Indeed, you have the power to make this country rich. Quite often, we are just shy, our wealth. The average Ghanaian never likes talking money. Me, I talk money, I only work for free or I charge the going rate. And everyone can tell you in the ministries. If the work is for Ghana, I'll do it for free. Because 50 cities here don't take me far. But if I have to do it well, if you don't start from 350 per hour, that is dollars, not cities, please. I wouldn't do the work. And I think most of you can attract bigger values than most of us do. But it's important. Going to school is hard. So there must be value in it, so that you enjoy the work you do. So trying to work cheap and cutting corners is cheating yourself and cheating your clients. Tell them that actually staying up night is tough. So you charge, so that when you stay out night, the following day you can have a good holiday. Praise the Lord. Then we'll talk about a few sector-specific examples. Now, before I talk about unemployment in Ghana, let's note one thing. Unemployment rate in Ghana should come from only one source. But anytime we are getting close to an election, unemployment becomes like Olympics on the league table. We go up and we come down. And you cannot predict what is causing that. So the caution to all graduate students is, please be careful of the facts you use. Facts in the media, on social media, or even in print media is not facts. There must be primary sources. Now, yesterday and the day before yesterday, Daily Graphic reported on the Ghana Statistical Service releasing unemployment data. The key messages are that yes, we have an unemployment problem, but that women are two-thirds, or rather of the unemployed population, two-thirds are females. So you are more likely to be unemployed if you are a female. And the causes are obvious and various. And for me, that is a shame and a blot on our conscience as a society. Because mothers who bear the brunt of everything we do are more likely to be unemployed, yet they feed the kids, which is also another reality. So if you're a female here, you do know that you are fighting against the wind. It is unacceptable, we build it up, but it's a current reality, and we have to do something about it. Over the years from 1999 to 2020, unemployment rates fluctuate between 9% all the way to 15%. The worrying thing is youth unemployment. Persistently high, stubbornly high, and worryingly very high. Now, before anybody asks you to talk about unemployment, pause and ask, what is the role and the responsibility of the country Ghana towards you? How many of you are aware that the Constitution of Ghana makes it incumbent for the government of Ghana to give you a job? Hello? The room is very quiet. Is it I'm boring you so that I start dancing? Me, I'm an only man, oh. We don't need much to start singing. Are you aware that the Constitution of Ghana? So I'll read from the Constitution of Ghana. Chapter 6 of the 1996 Constitution has what we call the directive principles of state policy. Chapter 6 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. It states in section 36, subsection 1. See, all my children are lawyers, so you pardon me when I quote law like this, but I have no choice. It says, the state shall take necessary action to ensure that the national economy is managed in such a manner as to maximize the rate of economic development and to secure the maximum welfare, freedom, and happiness of every person in Ghana, and to provide adequate means of livelihood and suitable employment and public assistance to the needy. Praise the Lord. Should I read it again, or is clear? It's very clear. So the Constitution mandates the state, and it includes all of us, to create jobs for everyone so that you have livelihood, and also to ensure that assistance is given to the needy. And the state does that by working with all agencies, ministries, organizations. Now, for the graduate students, if you are looking for solid data that you can quote in your thesis, please go to the Ghana Statistical Service. The laws of Ghana, specifically Act 1003 of 2029, mandates the Statistical Service to provide quality, relevant, accurate, and timely statistical information for the development, for national development. So you have the directive principles telling you what must be done. You have Act 1003 saying what the Statistical Service must give to you in order for you to realize what needs to be realized. So I was very happy when yesterday they gave their data to test of unemployed are women, more women unemployed than men. And it said, also, 1 in every 4 youth are neither in education, employment, or training. The so-called NEET, not in education, employment, or training. And that is worrying because the youth are the future of Ghana. Currently, the Ghana Statistical Service estimates unemployment rates to be between 13.4 and 13.9%, but youth unemployment to be around 25%. That is worrying. And if I were in church, I would ask someone to sing a song, and we hope and pray and commitment, but that is not so. In this professional setting, I think the question we have to ask is, what can we do about this? We see churches said one thing, that some people use statistics like a drunken person uses a lamp. They use it for support rather than for illumination. When someone is drunk and sees a light post with a light on it, he holds it, not because he wants to see, but because he wants to stand. We don't need to use statistics for support. We need to use them rather for what? For illumination, for direction, for guidance. Now pause. This is what the Ghana Statistical Service are telling us. That at any point in time, 1.7 million human beings. This whole right now we are less than 1,000. maybe over 1,000. But 1.7 million people are unemployed in Ghana. And most of them are women. We can do better, and we have to do better. Now, I always like to set the context. And the context I've set is that as a country, the state must create jobs. The second context is that we are not creating enough jobs. So we have an unemployment situation in the country. The third point I've made is that most of those unemployed are the vulnerable, that's the young people or females whose ability to also fight on the job market is restricted because they are raising the next generation. They are carrying our babies and spending the little money they don't have for our babies whilst we go about doing other things. So as a society, we need to recalibrate. We need to fix that problem. And that is why I love the title of this presentation, Standards and Job Creation. And you remember we said unleashing the potential, because we want to create a lot of jobs quickly. We must create jobs faster than we are having children. If we are having children faster than we are creating jobs, the problems will be there. Looking at the universities currently, based on which data you are using, anywhere between 350 to 550 students or graduates come to the job market every single year, and there is no job. This is exacerbated by the COVID problem. So COVID was more like a bus at a bus stop, which disrupted our economy. So most of the passengers were told to calm down. So those who were in the queue to get a job have to now go back to the back of the queue, because the existing queue, those inside have already come out. Because getting a job, if you have experience, you are more likely to get another job. And if you haven't had a job, the longer you do not have a job, the more difficult it becomes to get a job. I hope you get a vicious cycle unemployment creates. But I've come with good news, so be of good cheer. In November last year, I made a speech at the Moving Big Hotel when we launched the UK-Ghana Standards Partnership project. And I said, and I will quote myself, I hope, Prof, this is not plagiarism, since I'm quoting myself. I said, if there are no standards, there will be no trade. And if there is no trade, there will be no economy. And if there is no economy, there will be no jobs. So you can jump and say, if there are no standards, there will be no jobs. Because without standards, you cannot trade. Without trading in goods and services, you cannot have an economy. Without an economy, you cannot have a job. Sadly, I must say, we often overlook the importance and the value of standards, and yet most of us expect standardized treatment. That must change. So what is the standard? Let's discuss it first. Then we can delve into the meat of our story. People use the word standards, and I will not give you an ISO definition. It's in the slides. But standard is a consensus document. We say document because it must be written, which describes the features of either a product, a service, or a process. And we say the language of trade because it must be very clear and unambiguous. It's consensus because you and I agree here that what is 5:30? Let's meet at 5. Let's say, are you saying 5 or 5:30? My office or your office? We agree on it, we sign off on it. When you have an exam at UPSA, the university has its code, its standard for exam. It's prescribed. There is no ambiguity and everybody follows the rule. When you have the graduate practitioners forum, you have a scheme, a protocol for doing it. It's a standard. However, globally, you can have an international standard, a local, a national, an industry, or even a domestic standard. You can even have a standard for your office. But for the Republic of Ghana, as by law established, the Ghana Standards Authority is a secretariat for standards in Ghana. I use the word secretariat. And please note, the GSA does not develop standards for Ghana. Ghanaians develop standards for Ghana. So if UPSA wants standards for professional studies, tertiary institutions, we ask you for your experts. and we get some students, some parents, some stakeholders. Then they start saying, what are we trying to do? How should it look like? It can take up to a year. But once you sign off, then we publish it as a Ghana standard because it represents the views, the ideas, the guidance of the collectivity of Ghanaians. However, because standards are the language of trade, anytime you want to buy an iPhone, if you say you want iPhone 14, it's more than enough, isn't it? The features are described in the document, they are specific. There is no ambiguity. Whether it's made in China, UK, US, iPhone 14 is iPhone 14 because of the standard. Interestingly, because standards are the language of trade, usually industry says standards are voluntary. Because if you want to buy iPhone, you will quote iPhone 14. And indeed, the word iPhone 14 is not in any Ghanaian law. So if someone gives you iPhone 13 for iPhone 14, you go to court and demand that the standard for iPhones says that iPhone 14 has these features. It's not in our law, it's voluntary. However, governments, for health, safety, and environmental reasons, may wish a particular standard to become compulsory or mandatory. At that level, then we call it a technical regulation. Because now it's enforceable by law, and if you break it, you'll be punished. I took my time to let you know why standards are voluntary. Because standards are tools for trading. In fact, standards make trading easy. If you're having light bulbs, when you say 4 feet, everybody knows 4 feet. You may choose to produce the bulb or the holdings, and there's no doubt because the standards are described, they are widely published. If you are buying petroleum products, you know super, you know supermax, you know diesel, because the standards are clear. Without standards, you cannot trade, you cannot interconnect. So standards are actually good for business and they help us. And they're actually forces for good. And I will quote a UK person on what they said about standards. They said, and I quote, standards are the glue that will bind a new world order. Standards will unite Canada with Vietnam and Malaysia with Russia. But when misused, standards can present potent protectionist weapons. Why is this important? There's been so many times when bananas from certain countries cannot go to Europe because the curvature does not meet European standards. The point I'm making is that standards can be used also as a barrier to trade. Sometimes countries do it for deliberate reasons, and sometimes for good reasons. Currently, Ghana, our standard for rice does not limit how many years it could have been stored. But should you say that all rice consumed in Ghana should not be more than 5 years from harvesting, I'm almost certain that very few rice will be imported into Ghana because most of what comes in would have been stored for years. So standards are good, but they can be used for evil. And our aim is to use standards for good. But what is the value of standards? The UK government estimates that standards contribute 8.8 billion per annum to the UK economy. And this study was over a 10-year period, so it's solid. 41% of SMEs in Europe and the UK are able to export because of standards. 79% of businesses see profits because of standards. And 89% of companies implementing environmental standards do see benefits. So standards are good, but like I said, they can also be barriers. And under the AFCFTA, we must not use standards as barriers. Because of standards, a lot of our farmers are not able to export to certain markets. And because these are consensus documents, it's sometimes difficult to justify whether the health and environment considerations are really borne out across board. But that is because usually we from Africa don't participate in the standard setting agenda. It's free to everybody, but you must invest in it so that you're also influencing. And I'm pleased to say that in Ghana, together with La Côte d'Ivoire and with the support of our president and the entire government, we have influenced cocoa standards. And the current standards ensure that Ghana cocoa and Côte d'Ivoire cocoa gets premium value. It's a start. Currently, the Standards Authority is developing standards for organic products because Ghana has the advantage. We don't have fertilizer anyway. So organic products, and we will export it. We are also developing a scheme for halal products so that we can export products to countries which need it. And last but not the least, we are also doing kosher certification. We are developing a scheme for it. So we can export to countries which want kosher or halal. This will unleash our potential to create jobs. I mean, there is money all around us. Indeed, one Nigerian told me, he said, Professor, in Ghana, money is always raining, but you don't feel it. And that is the reality. I'm not rich, disclaimer, but I'm saying that the potential to unleash wealth in Ghana is very high. So, let me shift. We've talked about the unemployment problem and how standards can help us make money and create jobs. The Ghana Standards Authority, of which I'm the Director General, have developed several standards to meet Ghana's needs. Few of you will be aware of this, but we have standards for Hausa cocoa, we have standards for maize, we have standards for sobolo, we have standards for bitters. Of course, we also have standards for gold, for the petroleum industry, and for vehicles, we do have standards. The difficulty is always in the language. Usually people mean we do not enforce standards when they say you don't have standards. We do have standards, but do we enforce them? Or are they widely known? And that is the discussion we should have. But we have standards. Let me illuminate you on how we do standards in Ghana and indeed across Africa. When we have to develop a standard, the first question to ask is there an international standard? And why do we do it? Our businesses should be able to compete globally. So if there is a global standard which meets our needs, why reinvent the wheel? We'll adopt it identically. And if you look at our standards, when you see GS/ISO, it means it's Ghana standard and international standard. But sometimes, for health, safety, and environment reasons, we may wish to change. In that case, we say, is there an African standard? Because if it's about the environment, Africans are Africans, more or less, not 100%. And then if there is an African standard, typically automobile standards, we adopt it. If there is none, then we develop a Ghanaian standard. And in several areas, we don't have any standard. Indeed, in several areas, the Ghana Standards Authority has been the first to develop the standard. And I hope you give it up for us and clap for that. Thanks to Ghanaian standards, companies like Casaprepi can export millions of dollars of alcoholic beverages outside our shores. Thanks to our standards, you have maize standards, we have actually even classed them. Thanks to our standards, you can now trade commodities on the Ghana Commodity Exchange. So standards work, they provide a value, and they are useful. This year, we are developing standards for the informal sector. So that when you have an electrician, a bricklayer, anybody in those areas, and they say they meet a certain requirement, you say, where is the standard? And show me who certified you to that standard. Now, let's talk about AFCFT, then we'll draw down, and then I would invite you to ask me other questions. How many of you are aware of the African Continental Free Trade Area and what it means? Hello? Have you heard of the European Union? We started from the European EEC and became the European Commission. How many of you are aware of the North America Free Trade Area Agreement, NAFTA? And how many of you are aware of the Asia Pacific Trading Bloc that they want to create? They are all there. But we have the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. It is the African Union's program to ensure that we can trade among ourselves. If you read the history of Africa from the time of Kwame Nkrumah to Haile Selassie, all the way through Sankara, all African leaders believe that there should be a single African market. As Africans, we trade more with the outside world than within Africa. Intra-Africa trade is it's about 14%, 1/4. Whereas inter-Africa trade is far. And there are reasons for it: logistics, transport, expensive airfare, interconnectivity, lack of trust, and so on and so forth. But after has been born, And the agreement was signed in 2018. And the good news is that the headquarters is in Accra, Ghana, near City House. Now, that makes Accra the trading capital of Africa. And when you are the host country, you have certain liabilities. If you are hosting the trading capital, or you are the trading capital of Africa, the goods and services circulating in your markets, shall we say, must reflect the status as a host country. For your sake, and you have the slide, so please feel free. As of today, 54 member countries have signed to the AFTA agreement. And just like any other country in the world, Africa has 55 countries, but the issue of the Sahrawi African Republic is always tricky because of Morocco and Western Sahara. Anybody more than less than 50 years may not remember, but we used to have the Polisario Front, the Sahrawi African Republic, and their issues. And it's a very political issue at the continental level. So we are waiting for them. Africa has a population of 1.3 billion, and the AFCFTA creates the single biggest single market on earth with 1.3 billion people. So by numbers, but by value, we are not even near the US economy. Trading within the AFCFTA is about 3 trillion, and we are hoping to double it to 6 trillion. If we double it, it will lift hundreds of millions out of poverty. And that is what we want to achieve: poverty alleviation and wealth creation. So we want to create a single market for goods and services. Please note, usually when we talk about trading, we always focus on goods. But trading is on goods and services. And all of us are traders. I'm a trader. I teach. I'm a teacher. Occasionally, I'm a pharmacist. I supply pharmaceutical services in return for financial gain. I teach in return for financial gain. We are all service providers or product suppliers. Or you can supply processes as well. So please note, trading is not a bad word. Quite often, the word trade has been made to look criminal in our mindset. But human society lives because of trade. We trade amongst ourselves, we trade with our neighbors. And indeed, global diplomacy is about trading and movement of goods and services. So the AU wants to create a single market to liberalize the movement of goods, services, and people across Africa, and to lay the foundation for a single customs union, so that when you bring something into Africa, it moves around. You don't have to be having customs everywhere. That would enhance our competitiveness as a continent and promote industrial development and create jobs. The main priorities of AFTA currently are 4: agriculture and agro-industry, automotive, pharmaceuticals, and logistics and supply chain. Now, within the AFTA protocol, there's a whole sector which deals with standards, and the African Standards Organization, of which I'm president, manages it for the member states in the African Union. But the question I'm going to ask is this: how well does Ghanaian businesses understand, or do they understand standards? How well do they even understand measurements? My team here will tell you, we decided to go across town and measure products in both the formal and the informal sector. And it's shocking that even products in the formal sector have weight variation. So if you buy any products, let me use cement as an example, and it's written 50 kilograms, and you get 45 kilograms, you've lost 10% of your money, haven't you? If you buy fuel, and it's supposed to be 10 liters, and you get 9 liters, you have been shortchanged, haven't you? And these are the purposes and the reasons why we have a standards authority, and I'll be coming to that separately, to ensure fairness in trade and to ensure protection of consumers. Where we fail in our jobs, we fail you, because in the end, it costs you money. Because the goods and services you buy should be of the expected quality as well as quantity. Now, our challenge is that we can deal with the formal sector quite easily because the rules are clear. What about the informal sector? I sent my team out to buy kinki in Jamestown, Osu, North Legon, fancy kinki and gang kinki. I was blown away. Because when we were growing up, based on which house you are, sometimes you are given food. Everybody eats one bowl of kinky. But one of your brothers or sisters will say, I'm not full. And it attracts a lot of punishment because everybody got one bowl of kinky. So my hypothesis was that our balls of kinky from the same vendor, the same size. And the answer was no. I was shocked. Across Greater Accra region, if you buy 10 balls of kinky from the same vendor, the variation was up to 30% in weight. And I'm talking about naked kinky, you take off the skin. When you do that, you notice that fancy kinky is, when you take the skin, it's about 300 grams. Ghana kinky is about 440 grams. When you take off their covering, let's put it that way. Sorry, I didn't realize that I was dealing with Friday night audience. So, when you have kinky without its covering, we notice that within the same vendor, the range was about 30%. But also among vendors. So if you take the mean for vendor A, among vendors, I think the range was as much as up to 40%, just under 40%. Not surprisingly, the heaviest kinky were in Jamestown, and the lightest and most chisel was North Legon. I don't know why. But it shows you that the vendors are actually losing money because of their lack of weights and measures. We did the same for Gary, and that was even shocking because Olunka was giving us between 1.93 kilogram to about 2.1, and it varies. And of course, when you buy, they are small. At the time, this was 2018, they were selling this for like 12 cedis per 2 kilogram. But all the supermarkets had 1 kilogram, which was more or less 1 kilogram. Small variation. But they were selling the 1 kilogram for about 9 cedis. So 2 kilograms in the supermarket will give you 18 cedis. 2 kilograms in the market is about 8 cedis. If they understood weights and measures, they can even change the packet size and they'll make more money. After all, few people buy an Olonka, 2 kilograms of Gary. You really want to buy 1 kilogram at a time, either because that's the money you have or because small pack sizes fetch you more money. So for the business students, I'm saying this to avert your mind to the potential in just even pre-packaging existing goods into neat, easy to carry, usable packs. It will blow your mind how much money you raise, and yet we don't discuss this. So please approach us and let's work together to change Ghana. Now, before I go on to standards and the AFCFTA, I've got some good news for you. The government of Ghana, and I'm saying this as a government appointee because I'm an university worker, but I'm working as a CEO on the instructions of my bosses. And I love the job I do. But what I notice is that we are doing so much, that is all governments in Ghana from in between. But quite often it's in silos and it's not connecting. And where your advantage is as practitioners is to connect the dots and make us money. So let me tell you what has happened. The Republic of Ghana, through the government of President His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, has a very clear policy for AFTA. Very, very clear policy, which is actually multi-sectoral. Why? Trading cannot rest with the Ministry of Trade. You need Ministry of Finance. You need Ministry of Transport. You need Ministry of Health, and so on. And I'll mention the committee that is overseeing this. Secondly, the government focus is on the private sector. And government has developed a policy which is free online. Please look for it. It's called the National AFTA Policy Framework and Action Plan. And it has the National AFCFTA Coordinating Office. And it specifies Ghana's objectives under AFTA. And I'll read. 1. Provide market access opportunities to both existing and new markets for Ghanaian goods and services on the continent. We sell a lot of IT services to the continent. Currently, Accra is becoming the hottest market, Ghana, for education in West Africa. Every professor knows it. The demand from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, Somalia, it's amazing. So why don't we develop education as a service, expand access, charge more, and free the lecturers from our proverbial poverty? We also want to develop new products with export potential, and already we are doing it. The FDA and the GSA are helping local producers to take groundnut paste, gari, add groundnut paste, add other things. Most people here may not remember, but 20 years ago, 25 years ago, there was no water on the Ghanaian market. You only buy water with a cup on the market and drink, and share a few infections and build some immunity. Now, thanks to our innovation and standards, you have water in bottles and in sachets. And in fact, I'll pause for a minute, because when we mention standards, we don't explain too well. Do you realize that the Ghana Standards Authority has about, I think, 8 different standards for water? So we have a standard for drinking water, GS 175. It is drinking water. It must contain certain things. It can be from the tap, reverse osmosis, whatever, and it's safe. So when someone produces water in their backyard and they are licensed and it's clean, it's drinking water. It's okay. It can be sachet or it can be bottled. So that's already 2 standards. But you can also have natural water, mineral water. Mineral water means water which contains minerals, right? Natural drinking water is drinking water from a natural source, 100% natural, not from the taps. So it must be from granite. That can be also sachet or bagged. Then you can have mineralized natural drinking water. So if you have water from your own well and it contains certain minimum amounts of calcium, magnesium and other salts, then it becomes mineral water. These can be with gas or without gas. When you do the permutations and combinations, you're going to have about 12 to 16 different standards for water. So when someone is selling you water, please look at the standard and ensure that you are not paying for natural mineral water when you are getting tap water which has been boiled and filtered. So your lack of understanding of the standards of water means that as a procurement officer, your specifications will just say drinking water. If I am favoring my company, I know how to make the procurement specifications definite. For the health and safety of UPSA students, it must contain minerals for their bones and their teeth. That will rule out a lot of companies. But these are the tricks of the game that gives you a job. And that makes you the procurement officer very wealthy and very smart. And you can then be laughing all the way to any of the banks. Ghana also aims to provide timely access on information and increase value addition. Here are the ministries who are involved in the Interministerial AFCFTA Facilitation Committee. And since in Ghana we like acronyms, we call it IMFC. Interministerial After Facilitation Committee, IMAFC. Now we have the Ministry of Trade and Industry chairing it, the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, the Minister for Finance, the Minister for National Security, the Minister for Justice and Attorney General, Office of the President, and then Ministers of Key Implementing Agencies. Currently, Agric is key, and so they are part of it. So now, let's talk. And this way, for me, I get excited. I've shown you the problem we have with unemployment in Ghana, and it's massive. I've explained to you the potential that we have with having an African single market where trading amongst ourselves is at a very measly 14%, and we can move it to 30% and double intra-Africa trade and raise our living standards. All of us have GDP by at least 100%. I've also explained to you that we have standards, which are the tools for the trade, and indeed there are requirements for Ghanaian goods and services across the continent, from wooden to other things. However, suppliers across the continent do not have time to buy a shirt, and when it arrives, the button is not there, or they say size 4, and the size 4 depends on who is at the cutter's place, and so on and so forth. So if you standardize and there's reliability in your supply, we are going to make business. So how does this lead to unleashing our potential? Government has the AFCFTA policy. Government has built heavily onto the sector skills body. government is heavily promoting TVET because all economies in the world are driven by the small and medium scale enterprises. Make no mistake about that. And that is why, as Director General, I'm keen that between the GSA and the FDA, we harmonize our activities, and we will. In fact, we are doing so. Why? Most of the small scale or the micro scale companies are too weak even to afford our regulatory fees. But these companies grew. Nkatie Boga started as something around Okainshi. Now Nkatie Boga is a multi-million dollar company. Kasablanca started on the hills of Akwapim. I was on the board then. Now it's a $100-200 million turnover company. If we don't grab the small companies and let them begin to compete at a small level, how do they grow their capacity to use international standards to trade? And we are keen on one thing. FCFTA will not kill our businesses. Rather, we'll bring our businesses up quickly so that they can actually fight and export. Because an exporting country is a country which is always wealthy. And that is what we are all determined to do. So when you hear of GSA FDA harmonization, it's a deliberate attempt to provide relief to micro, small, and medium scale enterprises so that they can run business quickly and make money. Now, if you do all these together and you have TVET, Ghana is going to go forward. But we'll go forward only on one thing, that we have the skills needed for the job. Because currently, skills shortage in Ghana is a huge problem. So in preparing to move our country forward, last year, government passed the National Quality Policy to guide and to make it mandatory. It is Ghana's first ever National Quality Policy. On 28th of April 2022, Cabinet passed Ghana's first ever National Quality Policy. So we have a policy which says that services and goods in Ghana must meet quality and they must be consistent. Because quite often you ask for Coca-Cola, then they give you Pepsi-Cola. They are not the same thing. They are different brands. And you must be specific and you must be demanding. We also have the Ghana Standards Authority Act. We're using a 1973 Act. Thanks to God, Act 1078 is not a new kid on the block. And it provides relief, but importantly, sanctions if you do not meet the requirements. So we've reached a place where we can do a lot of things. Indeed, of interest to UPSA are the objects of Act 1078, which asks the Ghana Standards Authority to establish and maintain standards to ensure high quality goods and services, whether for local use or for export. It also asks us to promote measurements in industry so that industry can be able to compete with each other and with the world. We are supposed to promote testing, inspection, and certification for goods, for services, for processes, for personnel. So if you say you are a good accountant, please bring your standard. Let's gazette it for the nation to know your standards, and they can hold you to it. Where I love is where the object says that we must promote standards in public and industrial welfare, health and safety. Immediately we can create health and safety officers. Now, if you look at the fuel retail outlets in Ghana alone, there are more than 14,000 of them. If each one of them has an occupational health and safety officer, you've created 14,000 jobs. Stretch out to the LPG factories, stretch that to the mines, stretch that to the banks. And here I'm referring to companies or industries who can afford to pay. I'm not referring to small shopping in the corner. No, industries who can afford to pay. So this new law tells us that with a bit of creativity, with a bit of fellow feeling, we can actually transform Ghana by creating jobs. And I'm happy to announce that the Ghana Standards Authority had 2,000 NABCO personnel, and we have transformed all of them into trading standards officers. 200, and they will all have a job. Currently, they are being trained by the British Standard Institution. Thank you. And they will be enforcing trading standards. When you Google trading standards officers in the UK, any standard, what they do, they check trading standards, weights, measurements from the market to your houses. Initially, I thought that 200 was plenty. Then I looked at the Standards Act, which said we should have an office in every district. There are more than 260 districts in the country. And we are not even there. So the laws have been made, and the realization of these laws will mean that a group like the Ghana Standards Authority alone may be able to create 5, 10, 20,000 jobs. Multiply that across other industries, and you can see that the potential to create jobs is there. If only we will all pause and agree with ourselves that we have it in us and it must just be unleashed to transform our country. So, I will just land by giving you a few sector-specific examples. Because I don't mind the talk, but for me, we must walk the talk. We must walk the talk. Our talk and our walk must be together. And I'm always telling individuals that I pray to God that anybody with a responsibility to serve this country should be given a restlessness that keeps him or her awake if they don't think of creating jobs. And why do I say so? I went to the university in 1984, here in UST. Then it was UST. I'm from Jamestown. Maybe you don't know, I lived in Jamestown on the streets. In fact, before going to the university, I joined the Ghana Must Go train. Because after A-level, our seniors went on a Luther and we were home for 1 year. Struggled small in Lagos, made some money and came back. Because Jamestown, you know how it is. Jamestown, whether you like it or not, the houses don't all have washrooms. So if you are there, you can't be posh. I mean, it's a reality. Those days there were no street lights, and most houses did not have lights. But coming from there, in our days, when you finish A-level, the results are published in the newspapers. If your grades are good, you get a university. I got, I think, BCC. I got tech. And I read pharmacy. And it was free. I mean, should I say free? F-R, how do you spell free? It was free. So I just moved from Jamestown, STC, Tech. Nice room, nice bed. For most of us, and I can mention several big people in Ghana, that was the first time we enjoyed. Free bed, freedom, they give you food, they give you money. Of course, what did we do? We were closing the university down every week because the enjoyment was too much. But yet, and now I go to Tech a lot, and I see 4 in a room, 8 in a room. And I keep saying that if we got all this, and we could not do the same for the next generation, we have failed. We cannot look at ourselves in the mirror and think we succeeded. So what can we do? We can do something, not everything, but we haven't done well. And we can pretend, but once there is a God above, once there is Allah somewhere, if what we receive, we do not expand it for future generations to get the same benefits we got, then we have a problem. I feel worried for most parents because I look at what I have to pay for my kids and say, how do people manage? I hope you understand. I mean, to get to the university alone, you struggle. Okay, we lecturers, our children will get, that concession. So if you are taking 3, my child can come with 5. I mean, it's not really fair, but it is what it is. And then you look at some poor man's person who don't really have someone to even write for them. So as a society, we need to come back to the drawing board of fairness, of compassion, of fellow feeling. Without that, we don't build a society. I got it for free. I mean, most of the 50 plus. And trust me, we were not correct. We were always fooling around because school was sweet. And then, of course, if you get good grades, like most of us did, we got a scholarship. In fact, I got 2 scholarships, one to the UK, one to Canada. I deferred the UK, Canada one, went to the UK, went to Canada, came back. I mean, it was free. But now things are hard. And they are hard because we haven't expanded the pie. But they don't have to be hard. Please, anybody who makes you accept this reality, change your mind. In Europe and America, there are jobs without workers. They are begging for workers. If you have the right to work there, go to the UK today. At least McDonald's you will get £7 an hour. Put in the hours, you make some money, won't you? So if we cannot even give people a chance that regardless of your profession, you can get some work and get some money, then we are in trouble. And I know we all walk nicely and pretend and go to church and pray. And I get angry with that because I believe in God. But I believe that if we don't solve society's problems, God will ask us questions. But let me not turn this into a sermon because it's Friday night, and yes, I'll also be drinking my cognac later in the evening. So let me come today. Oh, I love my cognac. That one I know. So how do we unleash our potential? I've taken just a few sector areas to let you know what is there. Let's take agri. Agri is the biggest, and the opportunities are many. Value addition in equipment development, if you're a technical university, packaging, drying materials, formulations. We work with the Germans to develop a product called Obatampa because it contains all the ingredients needed for a growing mother or children or even adults. So with some creativity, agri will blow your mind. I love traveling. If you go to Oti region and you buy yam, 200 cedis. If you have a 4-wheel, it can break down the road. If you buy Kobe 100 cedis in Oti region, you can carry it. So there is abundance. And sometimes the word value addition sounds too big. For me, just say, take it, convert it into something and make money. Move it from Dubai to Accra and make money. That's also value addition. Go to Cape Coast. Their gari is so nice. Come, we'll give you a standard. Call it fancy gari. It will sell. You know the ones which are, crunchy. And I was in Brazil, and that blew my mind. You can get gari which is roasted with cheese. But it's gari. Then gari which has been roasted with butter or with margarine. And I put the one with butter on beans with their red oil in Brazil. I was blown away. Paradise. So there is money in food. And if you don't believe it, just cast your mind back. 12, 15 years ago, catering services were not popular in Ghana. Now every funeral, every function you go, they bring you pass. And we are being creative. Some are with fruits, some are with so on and so forth. So please think of it. Be creative. Just know that for as long as you are adding value to a human being, they'll pay for the value. On my birthday, I got hampers which blew my mind. Some were packed nicely. They had, I think the people knew I like banku with some things. They had banku in the hamper, they had this, and it was amazing. So think through it and satisfy society's need. So agri is big, from raw products, processed products, new products, innovative products, bespoke products, to even supplying people at their point of need. Jumia wasn't here these days, but now you can order food anytime you want. So there's a lot you can do. And look at Joka Shito. It's selling across the globe. And it works because it's standardized. Pharmaceuticals, I will not give a lecture on it. It's a big sector. When I was president of the Pharmaceutical Society, the size of the market was about $280 to $300 million. Thanks to regulation and the work we did. Because I was almost impeached as president. Because I've been practicing in the UK. And I said, I've seen maybe 100 countries, so Ghana can do better. They took me to AGM to impeach me. I said, oh boy, you will do it. We transformed, we made sure we were professional. And now the industry is more than $1.2 billion. And with vaccine manufacturing and other things, it's set to expand. And please note, pharmaceuticals is just small. But pharmaceutical industries rely on packaging. So those in design, those in product design, because to design even a packaging for a cough mixture for a baby, you need a social scientist. What do babies like? That's why the cough mixtures are always red. And I hope you are aware that your perception of taste is influenced by color. When the thing is nice and you think it's not bitter, when it goes into your mouth, you know whether it's bitter. So in the pharma industry, even the name you choose, either social scientist, anthropologist, plus a business manager. Because I work in the industry. If you are developing a product for pain, the marketers will tell us that, is that the only one on the market? We'll say, no, there are others. Then they'll say, but you are developing a painkiller to be given by injection. Whereas there are painkillers to be taken by mouth. It's foolish. Nobody will buy it. And it's true. So now we are talking to each other. Please note, life is multi-sectorial. If you are a pharmacist or a medical doctor, anything you design must be designed by a designer. You need a social anthropologist to make you appreciate how human beings think and work and act. Why do you think in pharmacies we always put the condoms on the desk? Because people buying condoms are shy. And usually they will watch and see whether there are people in the shop. If there are a lot of ladies, they won't buy, they'll come and buy toffees, biscuits and go away. That is the reality for all of us, all of us. But if, sometimes they just go in, pick it, and drop the money, and they're out. So we design that they are always by the shelf, and they are this, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot you can do with creativity, and you can help us. Let's look at construction. Ghana had a building code in 2018. The GSA developed Ghana's first ever building code. Now we specify what should be done from the floor, from the foundation. If we start testing the soil to the foundation, to the lintel, and the building materials, my estimate is that we'll create a minimum of 50,000 jobs. The regulations were passed last year, and I would say the challenge is to the country. You will need electricians, welders, plumbers, building inspectors. Accra is an earthquake zone. Everybody will want their building to have a structural integrity. And I love the construction sector. People will pay for it because they need value. But quite often, people don't go testing because there is no one to test. And one sample will take 200 years. So the laziness of we the technocrats is affecting business. I know because at the GSA, anybody who does a borehole will bring the water there for testing. It's not compulsory from government, but they are coming because they want to be safe. Ghanaians don't mind paying, but they want service and value for the money they pay. So please, construction, I won't give a lecture. What about hospitality and tourism? Ghana is rated as one of the peaceful countries on earth. And now the Cantonment's Labone area is the culinary capital of Africa. Just look at Christmas, Afrochella. I mean, it's okay. I go and see just because I'm a standards officer, I need to check. But I attend them, and it's amazing. From what I see, Afrochella, and the one they do on the bridge, which one is that? Little Havana. It's amazing. Yes, Afrochella has lost the license, but I hear a group in South Africa wants to come and brand something Chella. But any Chella will be there, and people are coming. And tourism and hospitality is where we should be going. You see, everybody wants leisure. The problem we have in Ghana, and I blame all of us, Prof, me, you and I, we are in trouble. Because most facilities come up, and then lack of maintenance, and so on and so forth, and they die. Secondly, we do not train them to have what I call people values. I mean, hotels should be discreet. You travel to, let's say, South Africa. You can be with your friend, my PRO is here, Peter. If he wants my room number and calls reception, they'll call my room and link him up. Don't give him the room number. In Ghana, if we go and I'm in my room, whether I'm alone or not, 10 o'clock, Peter will come. Oh, Alezo, I heard you are in 215. Aden. And I'm sure you've all heard the jokes about people going to hotel with their significant others and being told that, oh, master, open the same room and I mean, how? You can't do that. So please, hospitality and tourism, we can do a lot. I'm a good boy, I tell you. I'm not talking from personal experience. I'm only reporting what I've heard. If you look at the automotive sector, I drive a BMW now, Terramont. It drives like hell, it's perfect. We've homologated vehicles, but the business is in the components. And for students in design again, usually I like to go to the social sciences. You can design the best seats, the best, the leather seats or whether it is fabric. I've seen a few vehicles with wooden linery. It's beautiful. You can do more. So both the components as well as the vehicles will bring us money. What about oil and gas? Are you aware that we import a lot of labor to come and work on the oil and gas industry in Ghana? We import from Philippines and India. I won't say anything again. What about renewable energy and textiles and apparel? At the GSA, I've said that let's develop standards for Ghanaian fabrics. Because under the African Growth Opportunities Act, AGWA, Ghana couldn't even do 5% of what we could do. Because we couldn't meet supply. Macy's came to Ghana. We couldn't find anyone to supply Macy's. Just handkerchiefs we can't provide the volumes because of the quality and the standards. Meanwhile, the textiles and garment industry is worth billions. Look at Bangladesh, Vietnam, and so on and so forth. So we have a lot to up our game. I have requested that the Ghana Standards Authority maintains a world-class textile testing laboratory. Because really we have a problem. My teller gave me some made in Ghana shirts. The pattern, they made it the other way around. And I called him. But I've also known that the haberdashery that they use, thanks to the work we haven't done, are of inferior quality. The lining is poor. Sometimes you take 10 tape measures, and you put them on a scale, a standard, to check whether they are all 100 centimeters each. Hey, this tape, which is supposed to be 100 centimeters, the 100 centimeters can be 95 or 105. So sometimes your tailor has your measurements, but he gives you the dress, and the dress doesn't fit. You blame the tailor. Please, you have to blame GSA. Well, you can't blame us alone, but yes, we are part of the problems. So I believe that the textile industry is heavy labor, and that's a lot. Then you have ICT, then logistics, transport, and infrastructure. As I conclude my talk, there are a few things I want to throw across to you. We can unleash our potential, and we must unleash our potential. The unemployment situation in our country is very dire. We all are aware of it. We have the AFCFC, which creates a market. And please talk to GSA, talk to MBA. We have created an export hub so that you meet all of us at the African Trade Hub, opposite City House. Yes, you want the GEPA offices, Ghana Export Promotion Authority. People are making millions in cashews and other things. We can help you. What we have realized is that we don't have the infrastructure. Now we need men and women with visions, with ideas. And we handhold you. We're not going to leave you alone. The job of government is not for you to be reading all these long things. I mean, businessmen don't have time to read long English. But we have to hold your hand, fill the form for you, and literally connect you to your counterparts across other countries. That is our job. When we do that, we move forward. But to do that, all of us also have a responsibility to ourselves, and it rests on one word, not two words: hard work. Hard work, because it appears most Ghanaians here like to use the New Living Translation version of Psalm 127 verse 2. I'll read it for you. Psalm 127 verse 2. New Living Translation. I'll tell you what it says and explain why I'm saying so. That one I know, but not offhand. I hope the aluta here will not affect the internet. Good. I said something. I said hard work is what you need to do. And yes, I'm a Christian, I believe in the Bible. But this is what the New Living Translation says in Psalm 127 verse 2. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously waiting for food to eat. For God gives rest to his loved ones. Amen. I believe the Bible, but if you follow this, Master, there'll be trouble. So you determine which constituency you are. What I offer to you, my son is always telling me this about this verse. That you know that you always go to church, you don't believe in God. Then you read this for me. I said, okay, school fees time, I'll also read it for you. Then we'll see who is who. However, I have a concern, and that is why I'm bringing in the hard work. I hire a lot of people across different companies, and our attitude is bad, and our hard work is poor. And I just want you to be aware of one thing, that it's biblical to work hard. And so I brought, in addition to what I've told you, that you determine whether that is for your constituency. Me and my constituency, we like hard work. And we like not to have a sense of entitlement. We like to add value, and from the value, receive benefits. We also believe that discipline, hard work, and commitment helps move us forward. So I'll give you 6 Bible verses. It's all from the Bible. Proverbs 20:13. It says, do not laugh sleep, or else you will grow poor. Stay awake, and you will have food to spare. Shine your eyes, and food will come. The same proverb says, a little sleep, in Proverbs 24:33-34. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. In fact, I'll start again. Proverbs 24:33-34. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands. You know when the thing goes, then you press the snooze. Then if you have air conditioner, you fold yourself small. It's a poverty will come to you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed robber. Proverb 14:23, that one I think you must give it to all of us. It says, all hard work brings profit, but mere talk only leads to poverty. I'll read only two more. Ecclesiastes 4:5 says, the fool foldeth his hand and eateth his own flesh. You fold your hands, you eat your own flesh. But Proverbs 22:29 is a nice one for all of you, since you are good people. It says, do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before officials of low rank. Proverbs 22:29. It says, if you know what you are doing, you don't deal with foot soldiers. You deal with the boss. So what are my concluding remarks? Ghana has a problem with jobs, and after is a game changer. We have opportunities to transform. And if we stick to quality, to standardization, to reliability, to consistency, to delivering value for our clients, we'll do it. I'm 100% convinced that everyone in this room has the potential to be transformational. I can see Jeff Bezos and Amazons and the like here. Yes, our environment is punishing. Yes, our environment is not helpful to women, demanding of them even before they get what is their due. However, despite all these difficulties, we can make a difference. For those who are poets or they like to read poems like I, take the poem by Sam Force, which says, a house by the side of the road. He said, let me build my house by the side of the road and build and be a friend to man. Where the race of men go by, they are good, they are bad, so am I. So why should you even slander them? Because you don't know the burden they carry. So as an old man, I went with my favorite poem, which is from Alfred Lord Tennyson, Ulysses. It's a poem for a man who is a sailor who was growing old and he feels he's too old. So he says, look, my friends, at least before old age gives up, we can do something. But he says, come, my fellow men, it is not too late to seek a newer world. Though we are not that strength which we were in olden times, that which we are. One equal temper of heroic acts, one equal temper of heroic acts, determined to seek, to find, and never to yield. Let's go ahead and transform our continent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think Prof deserves another round of applause. Very insightful. Thank you very much. You may take your seats. You know, all those standards are important. It can also be a barrier to trade. And as a country, we should take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area to create jobs and build businesses. That if we provide small companies with the needed help, they can grow to become international standard companies. And therefore, most of us here, I'm sure we have a few small businesses here and there that we are doing on social media. So I think this really resonates with us. And we can unleash our potential, and we must unleash our potential. He deserves another round of applause. Yes. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take questions. And if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand, and then we'll bring you a microphone, and then you can ask the question. So, if you are here and you have a question to ask Prof, please raise up your hand, and then we'll get the microphone to you.
I want to know that do we have the population useful and ready to work? The answer is yes, they are there to work. Should we announce to the whole, should we announce that we should get to maybe a transport stadium or Kumasi, wherever, people who are eligible to work should go there for job to do. That will be filled up. The issue here is that how are we developing our night economy? Our night economy. When you compare other developed worlds, they will work 24 hours 7. So the issue isn't about creating new jobs. There are existing jobs that we who have the job, we go and sleep and wake up the next day to do while others to do that job. When you take a drive from here to say Akosogo, Biniba by 9, from 9, 12, we are all sleeping. The whole country, we are all leaving the job down to come the next day and continue. While existing people can get there. So the issue is that one, we should the issue here is that we should develop our night market. We should develop our night economy. We should develop standard that will make Ghanaians work more than 8 hours. With 1 hour break, it means we are just working 7 hours to work 24 hours, which is not productive. The other issue is that we should double the size of the security forces, such that we could have protection, so that we can come out, the water seller can sell 24 hours at night, and I and my friends will go and eat, because we know that we are secure moving out at night. Another one is lighting. We just don't have lighting in this country. At night, we can't just come out. So, in the quest to solve unemployment issue, we should think about improving the night economy and making sure that we have a double role, work day and night for staff.
Prof, I got here a little bit earlier, and whilst I was waiting, I said, okay, let me rush to a cafeteria to get something. Now, when I got there, I asked for a plate of jollof rice. Now, this beautiful lady served me jollof rice without salad. Then I asked her, Madam, where's my salad? Then she looked at me in a very funny way and said, please take it like that. Prof, why is a preamble that at a point he said we should be demanding for standards. So there was this guy standing behind me, and I said, Madam, I feel like not taking a plate of jollof rice again because there's no salad. Then this guy looked at me and he wanted to punch me. So this has to do with the issue of a typical Ghanaian. You are in a truck, the driver tries to use a left one hand to make a phone call, whilst he uses another one hand to drive. You're trying to demand for standard. What is the standard here? The standard is that you have to use both hands to drive. That's the standard. Prof, please, I don't want to preach. Prof, so my issue has to do with we the Ghanaians. We must be up and doing it. You see, I said we should be helping each other to demand for what? Standards.
I think General made a point which is so important. You know, industry, and I come from the pharmaceutical industry, only gives what either the regulator or society wants. If you are not demanding, industry gives you anything. And quite often, Ghanaians are too accepting of mediocrity. Seriously. I used to do that thinking it was Nyamisum. I've stopped. Last year I was going for a funeral in Sweden, and I begged the tailor that it's Sweden, upper class funeral, but I want to wear a kaftan, so make it black, plain. I begged him. I spoke. I explained in Ghana. When the man came, some flowers, red, plenty. Then he said to be nice over there. But you know, if you wear that in Sweden, they will think you are a clown. And they may think you worn a clownish dress to a funeral. So I had to reject it. He spoke, and I've never used that tailor again. So really, your point about doing this is important. And can we do it? Yes. There was something I left out which I want you to know. The new laws we have now allows us to develop what I would call local, as in Ghanaian local schemes. It may not be a standard. Because I went to Morocco, their king developed something called Salamatuma, which is like a trusted trader. So the king thinks your service is good, and you have that logo. So people come in there, expect certain level of quality. And so people look for that mark and go to those places. It's done in the UK. When you go to a hotel, you see the AA ratings, whether it's 3 or 4, you know it's a good place. And I believe we should start that. Because Ghanaians only respond to their pockets. If they know that behaving well will give more money, they will behave well. But if we keep saying, give it to God, you're not doing God's work. You're actually cheating yourself and cheating society. So General, I thank you very much for your sermon, and I think your sermon is going to transform Ghana one way or the other. Look, it's very, very complicated, but I will say one thing. The more we work, the more money goes round. The challenge we had a near 18-hour economy before the coup of 31st December 1981. Those days, most of us go to the cinema. When you buy Daily Graphic, you are looking on what's on at the pictures. And you check what's at the various cinemas, and if you don't catch the movie in Opera, you go to Orion or Monday or Oxford or any of the other cinemas in Accra and Kumasi. We used to go to the theater. But the curfews which came after the coup meant that there was no nightlife. And by the time the curfews were eventually lifted, all the cinemas have become churches. Because when people are depressed, they pray. So you have an issue, and we can run a 24-hour society. I think it's happening. And if you want to test this hypothesis, look at what happened during year of return. We ran a near 24-hour economy in and around most parts of Accra. And around that time, when you go to the Oxford streets, you see shops saying that waiter wanted, cleaner wanted, this wanted. So we were at the beginning of creating something, and then COVID came. So I think your ideas are worth considering. I have said severally that if you run the ministry 24 hours a day, to be nice, so you know why? Those who have grown old and don't want to go home, you can't do 24 hours for a week, you die. So at some stage, you give way, and that will promote transparency. But there are dimensions that the social scientists have to advise us. If you start running 24-hour economy, husbands may never be at home, always will be on night, and they are not on night. You know, so I mean, it's complicated. Yes, I mean, these are the realities. So, well, I mean, put it this way, you have to look at the economy side, but you have to look at the social science aspect. Because importantly, a boss may decide to put the ladies he likes only at night. You get me? And especially if, you know, I don't want to, I mean, you all know what people can do with these things. So it's not straightforward, and I'm not qualified to, I do know that it's of value in Southeast Asia, Thailand, and Indonesia. It's wonderful. It's happening in Osu night market and a few places. We can do more, but we must balance it with the realities of Ghanaian society, where it is still heavily patriarchal, and where the way we put people on shift may not be dependent on the need for them for work, but other considerations which I'm not allowed to speak in public. Thank you.
I want to ask if, as students here, don't we think our standard is not being taught like from maybe when we were growing up in schools? Like, for example, let's say we are all graduate students, and we can all testify that all the books and the textbooks that were being used to teach us are from elsewhere. So, for example, when I was in SHS, we were being taught economics. Now, the books that were used to teach us, we realized that even the examples in there are UK examples, they are American examples. So you end up learning everything that is pertaining to UK or USA economy, and then you don't have any idea about your country, and then now you want to come up with business. Now when I ask anyone here, what kind of car do you want? I'm sure you mention a Mercedes or a BMW. No one will mention Kantanka, if I'm right. So if things like this are not being taught when we were growing up or as young people, I don't think everything or any other effort we put in now will yield the result that we want. So,
well, my question has to do, how do you deal with some of the retail outlets who temper with 10-liter can to cheat innocent customers as a regulator?
We did realize that the penalties applicable for those things were very light. So we fought and went to Parliament. Now the penalties are very stiff. We are doing an exercise with them, informing them. I think I want to make a few points clear. When we enforce, it is not to punish or embarrass anybody, but to make sure they just do what they must do. Because our job is to protect everybody. A standards agency is to ensure fairness in trade between buyers and sellers. So we are not on anybody's side. And we've taken a lot of drastic actions, but you'll be hearing more. I would assure you on one thing, their standards have improved hugely, but not completely. I can also tell you that a few regions have had issues which have been raised at the highest level to us and which we are dealing with. So I will not deny the fact that problems do exist. I will be very honest about that. And you know, the potential or the appetite for doing the wrong things is higher when money is short. So now is the time when we must also shine our eyes, because people are broke. And we are also trying to have many more staff to be doing surveillance on weekends and on holidays. Because you know, when people want to do bad, they wait for the big man to be asleep. So Mohammed, thanks for your question. It's a very valid question, and it's clear that there are issues which have to be solved, and we are on them. And I hope I've not given you a political answer, but I've spoken the truth without embarrassing any large company, because sometimes you take a brand, any of the brands, and it's one retailer, not corporate. And if your words are not good enough, the whole brand gets tarnished. So now we are punishing them, and I think they are complying. So I will keep you posted. She's talking about our local content is weak, our education is weak, our this is weak. It's true. TVET education should be the driver, but TVET has not been the best. Now government has revamped it. But please note, all of us in public universities have a dilemma. And the investments over the years means that places are few. The lecturers are even fewer. Students' numbers have increased. Now there's always a dilemma when you're in the public university. You can say you are fighting for quality, but if you are fighting for quality, who shall you it? I hope you understand. And once you go for mass production, quality will suffer. So it's a dilemma. I don't have an answer. I wish I did. What I am sure of is that those of us in my age group should have been contributing to making more money in Ghana, to have more lecturers, more trainers, and then shorter class sizes. I went to pharmacy when we were only 43 in the class. We all did experiments. Now they're like 300. They see the experiments on YouTube, if they are lucky. You know, and you can't, certain things are hand-based. You must use your hands. So yes, it's poor, but we are evolving, and we are having many more people. And the debate is out there. What do we do? And I think we should have that discussion. Your point about we using foreign notes is true. It was, but it's changing. 20 years ago, no Ghanaian listened to Ghanaian music in a nightclub. Now, in a nightclub, in fact, I went out on Wednesday night, there was no foreign music. You get me? Plus Tuesday 3, Wednesday, the ladies band, Lipstick Queens. I mean, it was that music until they closed. So we are making progress. I think, once again, you must demand. I mean, I tell pharmacy students and I tell Ghanaians, ask me questions based on our reality, and then let's solve it. What I will end with, and because I believe in it, is this. When the Ghanaian begins to believe in himself, we change our country and change the world. Now, Nigeria imports bitters from Ghana in quantities, millions of dollars. The same for South Africa, the same for Germany. These same countries are importing so many other products from us, but sometimes our capacity. The UK is demanding plantain chips, like water. When the Ghanaian believes in himself, we change the world. And really, you see it in every sphere. So I want us to believe in ourselves. And I want us to shift our national discussions from partisanship to how do we make money? You know, let's engage. How do we make money? When was the last time your priest told you that, Charlie, you are doing this, you are doing this, you are doing this. Let's sit and make money. You see, we've been too focused on an ideal world which stays in the beyond. But trust me, the solutions are around us. Let's intertrade. Let's not be shy about making money. Because if you bring me a nice sample at Christmas with cognac, VSOP, I'll take it. Because it's Christmas. But you must make the money first. Also, you bring me the fake ones bought in Togo, the one with the red head, instead of the black. I will know the difference. Because I'm a connoisseur. And when I know the difference, I'll tell you next time that I don't buy that one. All right? So please, making money is not sinful. It is making it the right way, paying our taxes, creating jobs, and building a wealthy society. Our constitution guarantees the pursuit. Please listen, the Ghana constitution says the pursuit of happiness. You run after happiness. It's one of the things in the constitution. So I think our laws are clear. We must be happy, we must be free, and we must enjoy. So why do you put pain as a religious virtue? Trust me, pain and sadness and poverty are not religious virtues. Let's work and make money. Let's talk about how to make money in the legal way. Let's talk, hold us accountable so that we create the economy that creates jobs, that pays you what you deserve. Then you will enjoy our country and will not run away to Canada and other places. They may be nice on paper, but they are very cold and they are very lonely. And when you have a party, nobody will come. Ghana, you try and have a party, people will come. And it's a good country. So please have fun and enjoy the evening.